Okay, so I am test trying to record a video. It's been very difficult for me to speak on because of the way things are at this moment. But I know how important it is to start creating documentation and then I can later compile how I want to actually do this. So, the first thing I want to speak on is I was honey trapped. For those who don't know who or what that is, um, it's basically when a person, by an African, it was basically when a person pretends to be a lover, but they're not really a lover. They don't love you. They've been sent in to gather information, documentation, and there's usually a reason for it or behind it. You may have an inheritance, you may have life insurance, you may have other things, energetically that person has been taught, raised, reared to siphon or take. In my case, it was an African, and certain tribes of Africa, they are actually taught. They practice witchcraft heavily. They are taught and raised to siphon energy, to find out information, to gain um, the trust of an unsuspecting person, typically a person of another race or nationality, because we are the ones that are less in the know about what they actually do. I've met other African friends after the fact who have definitely told me that this is a whole thing in certain tribes, in Africa and in other cultures too, but it is more prevalent, you will find, in African culture. So, with the honey trap, the person comes in, they are going to pretend to be your, dream person. They are going to be groomed or whatever you like. They're tailored to kind of cater to what you like. They will document and pay attention to the things that make you happy. They'll try to get all the information that about your past or your patterns, and they actually literally document these things so that they can formulate a fake person that would cater to who you need that person to be. During that, once they gain your trust, they're able to get information about maybe your family history, about any resources. Maybe you will give them stuff like your social security number, or they'll have accesses to your documents like your birth certificate. And if that person happens to be well versed in tech or technology, then that gives them even more leverage. In my case, the person I dated was worked for the state, Department of State, and they were heavily involved into technology. And so I found myself in situations where they were cloning my phone, my email, anything personal on my phone, conversations with other people, just knew everything. Because if you don't know what a clone phone is, it's being able to see everything that that person is looking at. So access to everything. Um, and they were able to further, infiltrate my like privacy. There literally was no privacy, but able to find out just about everything on me. After that, they decided to create false narratives about me. I later found out that there was lots of different combinations of emails that were created with different combinations of my name. I think another email that had like triple X involved in it. There was some black web stuff going on, things that I had no knowledge of. During further research, I found that there was a property in Kentucky that had my name tied to it. I'm still kind of trying to gather the pieces of everything. Um, and then this type of game stalking often is people are recruited from other areas. So it started out with, not started out, but the honey trap, which I personally believe was an hired what do they call it, a hired handler. And it likely probably came from an even closer betrayal, a family betrayal coming from likely my mother, during that there was an inheritance from my grandmother. So putting the pieces together, if a honey trap or a handler was hired to, keep me distracted or, gather information or whatever the case may be, it didn't stop there. Roommate with an ex, um, I want to say Air Force, older white male, and then also another white male in his early 50s, um, who was a 33 degree Mason. And when he moved in, the adventures began. Like, um, I will talk more about that in another thing. I just thought that it might be time for me to start compiling documentation and really kind of getting it out there. It is tough to talk about these things. It is tough to come forward because, you know, there's some apprehension about, how things would be received or the backlash, but it's important because I'm not the only one that has gone through this, and there are so many other people that will benefit from what my testimony in this. So here's the start.